if you were in my face-to-face class, I would take a minute and I would share with you a real sample eulogy, one that I wrote and delivered for a family member. So I want to share with you the eulogy I wrote for my great Aunt Betty. When people used to ask June Carter Cash how she was doing, she would always say, "I'm just trying to matter." I'm here today because Aunt Betty mattered to me, to all of us. The word eulogy in the Greek means to honor or praise, and I am so humbled to do that for a woman who is certainly worthy of it. I asked my siblings, relatives, all the friends, what words they would use to describe Aunt Betty. They said everything from organized to talented, loving, caring, patient, hospitable, homemaker, kind. Reminded me of Philippians 4:5 that says, "Let your gentle spirit, your graciousness, unselfishness, mercy, tolerance, and patience be known to all people." She embodied that scripture. She lived out who she was authentically in every area of her life. After reflecting and listening to all the stories, I thought about two words that really summed up every aspect of who she was: conscientious and caring. Boy, was she conscientious. If anyone's life exemplified the saying, "There's a place for everything and everything in its place," it was her. One of the phrases my aunt used to describe her was very, very organized. Everything she did with thoroughness, attention to detail. As a little girl, I remember thinking, surely she must wax her floors. They were always spotless. When Mike and I would have sleepovers at her house, I would wonder how she got those little breakfast sandwiches to be perfectly round. The egg, the ham, was always perfect. From her quilt stitching to her cakes, there was such attention to detail. Her house was never a mess. A few years ago, I told my mom that I'd finally learned the secret to keeping a clean house. It just means you can't sit down. And she never sat down. She also worked. From being a secretary at Newton High School to Oblong High School to later the Methodist Church, it was her attention to detail that made her so good at her job. Her conscientious nature also made her a great campfire leader. She was a PEO member. She was always an officer. She admitted that she was shy by nature, but her gifts shined in her detail. Once, Micah and I wanted to TP so badly, and she probably couldn't handle the mess. So she compromised by giving us one small roll of toilet paper and walking us out to wrap one tiny bush. One of the stories I read from her PEO biography was how much attention to detail she spent on going to New England. She needed every part about that trip to be perfect. She wasn't particular, she just really wanted to get it right. I think it wasn't to impress other people, but to please her Creator. And it was from an overflow of her heart to please God that we all experienced her caring nature. She cared about all of us, her community, her church, her family. She was the kind of person that you wanted in her village, your village. Her door was always open, whether it was my mom staying over homesick from school or a nephew traveling through. When my dad started dating my mom, he said he always knew he had a place to stay. I don't think anyone made him feel more comfortable. She didn't just give you a room. There were M&Ms and warm oatmeal cookies. She baked birthday cakes for extended family members. She spent a decade caring for a group of girls, teaching them how to put up a tent, how to identify leaves, how to use a Dutch oven. She treated us to trips to the farmer's market and to get new shoes before school. Her food felt like a warm hug. She was always cooking, from soups to jams and her delicious cakes. Not one of us doesn't have a baby blanket where she sewed our birthday with our name on it. She even did it for our kids. We watched her wash dishes and change sheets and serve and serve. One of my favorite quotes by Mother Teresa hangs in my living room. It says, "If you want to bring happiness to the world, go home and love your family." My brother Nate said she just embodied being hospitable and homemaker. She made a big family. She made a safe place for everyone to laugh and enjoy one another because she cared. She cared especially about the ones directly under her care. She beamed with pride when she talked about her Jolly and Jim, Micah and Hannah and Lizzie. Her caring nature, her conscientious nature, left an imprint on all of us. She was truly a gift, and as my dad said this week when we first found out she had passed, boy, she really was the best.